for laundry. Nothing's out of boundaries, man, who hit the laundry? Nothing's out of boundaries, man, looking for laundry. Yeah, rootin', laundry, yeah. When's the last time you heard a theme song for your podcast? Anything sport-related, debate, both pass. New York to Anchorage, thank you for your patronage. Touching every sport, Real Madrid to the Lakers kid. Johnny Mac hit the school, I was old in it. I was ball, girls, lacrosse, nothing's okay. Boy, if you a sports fan, you know what to do, man. Tune in, lose, and we'll take everything, fan. Courtside, those knees, if you the play-by-play, when they want the real deal, this is all you gotta say. Nothing's out of boundaries, man, looking for laundry. 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 Yeah, rootin', laundry, yeah. When's the last time you heard a theme song for your podcast? Anything sport-related, debate, both pass. New York to Anchorage, thank you for your patronage. Touching every sport, Real Madrid to the Lakers kid. Johnny Mac hit the school, I was old in it. I was ball, girls, lacrosse, nothing's okay. Boy, if you a sports fan, you know what to do, man. Tune in, lose, and we'll take everything, fan. Courtside, those knees, if you the play-by-play, when they want the real deal, this is all you gotta say. Nothing's out of boundaries, man, looking for laundry. Nothing's out of boundaries, man, looking for laundry. Nothing's out of boundaries, man, looking for laundry. Nothing's out of boundaries, man, looking for laundry.
All right, welcome to another episode of Rooting for Laundry. Today is Monday, August 17th, 2020. I am your host, Johnny McDonald. You can follow us at Root for Laundry, as it says on the ticker. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel for all the previous episodes, as well as our Facebook page. Thank you for joining in. This is episode number 18. So thanks for joining. Today we will be covering the Brooklyn Nets. The Nets franchise was founded in 1967 with in the ABA. They started playing as the New Jersey Americans in Teaneck, New Jersey in their first season. They ended up moving to Long Island during their playoff run and stayed there. The Nets won 2 ABA championships in 1974 and 1976, led by Dr. J. Julius Erving. With the NBA and ABA merger happening the following season, the Nets were forced to move back to New Jersey, as well as giving up Dr. J. The Nets remained in the Garden State from 1977 to 2012, where they moved to Brooklyn, New York, and became the Brooklyn Nets. And my two guests I have are huge fans. My first guest is a native of New Jersey, and he's a stand-up comedian. He performs all around the country, and he also holds the record for drinking a cup of Jollibee hot gravy. Give it up for Ryan Dacalos.
Hey, everyone.
Ryan, what's up, buddy? Hey. Everything's good. So I know you're a huge Net fan, so this should be fun. I'm going to bring in my second guest, another comic from Long Island, and he's a current CrossFit champion. Give it up from Adam X. Parsons.
What's going on, guys?
What's going on, buddy? How you doing? Thank you guys for joining. What's up?
Doing good. Happy to be
on. Sitting by the pool, man. Looking good, man.
Summertime, you gotta do that, right?
Yeah, just have some fun, man. So so you guys are big Brooklyn Nets fans. I guess I'll start with Ryan first. Ryan, how did you become a Nets fan?
Because of Drazen Petro.
Oh, nice.
And, then two great seasons. Man. He made third team the second season, All NBA. And then when he passed away, and I was still a Nets fan.
Yeah, well, that's cool. You stayed with him.
Coleman and stuff. But if they had him, oh my God, they could have went somewhere, I think.
I know, like, yeah, we say it's a short sample size for Petro, man. You didn't see much of him because he played in the league for what, 3 seasons?
Nah, I think he played before.
I know he played in Portland for like, yeah, when they went to the finals in 1990, and then they traded him. Yeah, then they traded him. Yeah, he was bitching about playing time, and then they traded him in the middle of the season to Jersey. So
and he just blew up.
Yeah, so he gets added. Petro gets added with Derek Coleman, and the year after they draft Kenny Anderson. So that's a big three right there. You got DC, Kenny Anderson, and Petrovic. I also want to just show you a pic of Petro right there. You see like the tie-dye uniforms they were wearing back then? That was a hideous uniform, man. It was like, they had a major change to their uniforms. But Adam, do you remember a thing about those teams with Petrovic, DC, and Kenny Anderson?
I know about those Nets teams from NBA Jam. Because growing up as a kid, in New York, everybody liked the Knicks. But Knicks was never my team though. Like when I was younger, I followed the Suns because I liked Barkley. I don't know why Barkley was my guy. And then
Barkley was cool. Now back then, Barkley was real cool to like. Yeah.
I like the Magic for a while. Penny Hardaway. I like the Suns obviously with Barkley. But I remember those teams though, just from playing NBA Jam as a kid.
Yeah, and Ryan, I know you remember like that team was good because they were going to the playoffs. Once they got those three together, and they had like Chris Morris.
Yeah,
and
Game 7 every single time, and like but the Cavs were good too. So they were up and coming, and then like
that's what it is. They were definitely up and coming, and then once those three came in, they made the playoffs in '92, and I remember you mentioned the game Bulls versus Blazers. They were on there.
Yeah,
and. Yeah, there was
like the best shooter in the whole game.
Huh?
In that game, he was the best.
Petro, yeah. And that game was slow as hell because it's like you shoot a ball, like it's like it was like back then they didn't like they're not like the games they are now, but like the games back then.
Go in, or it'd be crazy.
Yeah, I remember it was crazy. So that team they made the playoffs with the first but they lost in the first round to Cleveland in '92 and in '93. And then the end of '93, Petro felt a little bit slighted that he didn't get offered an extension. So he was going to seek to go back to Europe and play there.
I think he would have stayed. I think he was trying to bargain.
Yeah, that's possible. But I mean, what happened on June 7th, 1993, Petro dies in a car crash on the Autobahn in Germany, which is a sad day. I know his girlfriend was driving the car. Yeah, and he was sleeping in the back seat, and he didn't have a seatbelt on. So I know, since you're a big Petro fan, how did you feel when you heard that news?
He was like my favorite player, and then that happened.
Yeah, it was sad because we didn't. Yeah, go ahead, Ron. I'm sorry.
They were going to be like, I think they were going to really do something, that whole team, because they had that big three. And Derek Coleman was like a monster.
Oh man, Derek Coleman, like everybody, like Barkley and a lot of other players swear he would have been the best power forward in the game.
But like if they had the doctors they had today, that wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah. And he shot for long range. He could dribble. He could do what all the players kind of do now, all the big men kind of do now. So DC was going to be a problem. And I was a big Kenny fan, especially coming from Queens. He was like, Kenny was coming. Yeah, I remember Kenny didn't start his first season. Mookie Blaylock started.
And they traded Mookie.
Yeah, then they traded Mookie so Kenny could start. Yeah, in Atlanta. Yeah, it worked out for both teams because Mookie became good.
They could have drafted the Tumbo, actually.
Yeah, it could is possible.
Kenny,
yeah, but the '94 season we saw DC and Kenny go to that All-Star game, starting that All-Star game in '94 in Minnesota.
Yeah,
which an All-Star game I like too because you had Coleman and DC with the Nets, and with the Knicks had 3 All-Stars with Starks, Oakley, and Ewing. So it's a very New York Metro heavy team. So you think DC and Coleman are like, all right, these guys are going to be here for the long run.
They played in the first round, right?
Yeah, they played them in the first round. Yeah, they beat they lost to the Knicks 3-1 in the best of 5. And then DC starts bitching the year after. He forces his way out, and they trade him to Philly for Sean Bradley. Then I remember him getting a huge contract. I don't remember
like it was a crazy contract.
Sean, like, Derek Coleman got, because I remember Larry Johnson before had the big contract, $84 million with the Hornets, and that was huge. And then DC, I think I know he turned down a $69 million, but they offered him a $96 million. I forgot what it was, but he starts bitching and moaning, and then he forces his way to Philly, and then you guys get Sean Bradley, and then it was and then by the time the beginning of the 95-96 season, they trade Kenny to Charlotte for Kendall Gill. So all the guys that were promising for DC, Kenny, and Petro, they're all gone, and now you got Kendall Gill.
I like one player they had, like Armin Gilliam. Remember him?
Yeah, Armin Gilliam. I remember PJ Brown. Yeah, PJ Brown, Calvin Edwards.
PJ Brown went to other teams and like was really successful, like the Heat and stuff.
Yeah,
he won a title, right, with the Celtics. Yeah,
he ended up winning in the long run. But like, that team had okay guys, So yeah, I mean, it didn't. They started being bad, and they didn't make the playoffs till the 97-98 season, and that's when they had the starting five. It was Gill. They drafted Kerry Kittles the season before that.
Yeah, so Sam Cassell, but he didn't play.
Yeah, Sam Cassell ends up coming over, and then you have Keith Van Horn in his rookie season. Talk about Keith Van Horn, and he was the number 2 pick after Tim Duncan, and they labeled him like as going to be like really good. Yeah, his rookie season, he was actually good.
I think then he got injured, and his athleticism went away.
Yeah, but that rookie season, I remember him being really, really good, and I remember liking the net. I remember that was the first net game I went to, because going to the Meadowlands sucked. I mean, I don't know where in Jersey you grew up in, Brian, but was the Meadowlands close to you, or
probably 20 minutes away?
Oh, and where in Jersey did you live?
I grew up like Middlesex County.
Okay, so it wasn't that far of a drive. Yeah. But I guess Adam could attest for it coming from Long Island, or me coming from Queens. It was just a pain in the ass to get to. If you didn't drive, you had to take the New Jersey Transit.
Yeah, I remember went over to the Continental Airlines Arena, whatever you called it.
Yeah. It was so. Yeah, it was so inconvenient because it didn't have, at the time before Giant State, they built a new Meadowlands, they didn't have a train to go there. So you had to for me, I had to take it to the Port Authority and then get on a bus, a shuttle bus to the Meadowlands. So it sucked. That's the first game I remember going to. And I remember when they had those McDonald's 4-packs. I don't know if it was like you buy 4 tickets, you get 4 McDonald's value meals and a cheap Polaroid camera. So you can share all your memories of watching the Nets and a half-filled arena.
The 90s, right?
They made the finals and it was barely like 4.
It was tough, but that 98 team, they lost to the Bulls in 3. They got swept by the Bulls. That was the Last Dance Bulls with Jordan, Pip, Rodman. You're not beating that team. No. So yeah, that was over. The following season, they make a huge trade to get Marbury. So and then they trade Sam Cassell in the process. So Ryan, I guess since this is around your time, how did you feel when that Marbury came in?
At the beginning, I thought it was a bad thing because Marbury was younger and all this thing. But then I didn't really see kids that much. And then when he came in, he changed the whole game, and he dominated the game without even shooting.
Yeah, and it was
basically the same team. Basically the same team when he took them to the final.
Yeah, Marbury. Yeah. Well, with Kidd, yeah. But Marbury and Kidd are the opposites. Wherever Marbury goes, the team actually declines. Whereas wherever Kidd goes, the team gets way better.
Kidd was just the best point guard that era.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. So Marbury arrives there, and then Marbury, April 1st, 1999, Jason Williams breaks his right leg, colliding with Marbury in a game against the Hawks, and then Jason Williams, who made the All-Star team that 98 season, end up getting season-ending surgery, and his career was just done. So. Yeah. That was it for Jason Williams. And I don't know if you remember in 2002, Jason Williams gets charged for shooting his driver.
Yeah.
But
playing with his gun.
Pretty quick after that too, with murder charges and shit.
Yeah, it all went downhill after there. With Jason Williams. So he retired. But 2000, the offseason becomes great because the Nets hire Byron Scott, who ends up becoming the coach. And then in the draft lottery, number 1 pick, they take Kenyon Martin. So you got Marbury and Martin, and 2000-2001 season becomes good because Marbury goes to his first All-Star game. And that 2001 All-Star game is one of to remember. Yeah, remember Marbury and Iverson. Yeah, they were hitting they were good. They were. That was one of the most memorable All-Star games because Marbury and Iverson end up.
And I remember the game after he scored 50.
Yeah. Marbury was.
He was on the radar during that time.
Yeah, I was such a big Marbury fan coming from Brooklyn. I watched Marbury since high school. So just following his journey and becoming, and just in the Nets, he just, it just didn't work there. So,
the kid from Coney Island.
Oh yeah, I just watched that. Adam, you watched it?
Yeah.
The kid from Coney Island, Marbury's Netflix documentary.
I watched the Vince Carter one, but I didn't watch the.
Oh, Vince Carter has one too?
Yeah, he does.
When did that come out?
About 3 years ago, but it's on there now, and it's most about his Toronto Raptors days, though.
Oh yeah, that's obviously you know him for. Yeah, so that's something else I have to watch. But if you could get a chance to watch the kid from Coney Island, it's really really good.
I'll get on.
Yeah. So Marbury didn't. He didn't put the Nets over. So draft day 2001, that's when things start really getting good. The Nets make a trade with Houston for the draft rights to Richard Jefferson. So you start with Richard Jefferson and Jason Collins as well. And then the day after, they trade Marbury to Phoenix for Jason Kidd. And they signed Todd McCullough. So that's the beginning of the championship. Well, not the team.
The runs.
That really run. So I guess Ron, I'll start with you first. When Jason Kidd came here, you were ecstatic and on board for it, right?
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning, I thought it was weird because the younger Marbury looking, but when Kidd came up, I was just that final, the first year, I was like, wow, it's so crazy.
He turned that whole team around amazingly, and so Adam, that's when you
could have been Super Spurs.
Yeah, that would.
Yeah.
But he
set up because he didn't Kittles was a buyer and he put on the bench. I was like,
yeah. So Adam, that's when you first became a Nets fan, right? So how did you
jumped on board? Yeah, because I watched them sporadically. I watched NBA sporadically for 10 years or so before I finally hooked my wagon to the Nets.
Yeah.
Over because I knew him and I knew all the names on the team. Like, you know what? And the Knicks were in the news for all the bad stuff going on.
So you had Kidd, you had Kmart. Yeah, Kidd, Kmart, Kittles, Keith Van Horn.
Yep. Richard Jefferson.
Yeah, Richard Jefferson off the bench. So that's holy shit. That's a good.
Other guys, Lucius Harris.
Lucian Harris won. I'm he came in close to winning the most improved player. So that was a killer team. So they went all the way and they get swept by the Lakers. Shaq and Kobe, unfortunately, you're not beating those guys. But going to the finals, it sucked because it's feeling bad for Nets fans. As a Knicks fan, the Knicks always were the talk of the town. Now the Nets are moving in and becoming the talk of the town. But the simple fact that they always, I think the reason that the Nets never took over the Knicks because they just played in Jersey. I think that's the main reason. You know what I'm saying?
Even with the Devils, when they started winning championships, they still weren't the teams of New York.
Because the Devils, the fact that they're called the New Jersey Devils. If the football teams, if one of the football teams were called the New Jersey Jets or the New Jersey Giants, then we probably wouldn't look at them the same. You know what I'm saying? Just with the name. But one, like I said, the fact that they play in New Jersey. Two, the fact that they play in the Meadowlands is just such an inconvenience to get there. I remember going to the 2002 first round playoffs against the Pacers, and it was like that. I mean, it was packed, but it wasn't sold out, So it just nobody, it just didn't have the same buzz. Even the finals, I remember I had a friend who went to the NBA finals and he said, oh, I got to take it easy. You know what I'm saying? It was because, it's just the Nets, it's the Meadowlands. Nobody really cares. It's a terrible place to watch basketball. Yeah. So they just never took over. So.
I know. It's unfortunate, but it's true. It's even that way today still.
Yeah, I think it'll always be that way, unfortunately. So, so they go to the finals for the first time, and then the second time, the year after, it's like, all right, let's. They're gonna stay like Kid. Where they make a trade for Mutombo. They trade Keith Van Horn and McCullough to Philly for Mutombo. So now it's like, all right, this seems because you got to defend, huh?
Yeah, they did pretty good for Shaq.
Yeah, they had somebody to match up against the big guys in the NBA. So you had Mutombo, a defensive specialist. You had Kid. Now, big thing, RJ gets, huh?
They had Mourning also.
Yeah, and they trade. They get Zoe the year after. But that 2003, because Mutombo's there now, RJ gets to move to the starting lineup. So you have Kmart and RJ, and Martin was like the thug, getting all these technicals and and penalties, knocking people out. So now they go back to the finals again, and they were pretty dominant on their road to the playoffs. I remember they swept Detroit, they swept Boston in the semifinals, and then they swept Detroit in the conference finals to get to the Spurs. So now it sets up the Spurs and the Nets, who are the first team ABA teams to be in the finals ever. So this matchup looks like it's going to be good. So I guess Ryan, I'll start with you. To talk when all right, now they're back to the finals again. They have to beat the Spurs, right?
They lost the first game, but the second game when they beat them, and it was a really good game. Like Kid would hit some good. Some clutch shots. That's like, oh my God, we could actually win this.
Yeah, it looks pretty good. Adam, talk about your thoughts when they went to the finals again.
That was my thought too. I thought this is going to be the year that they're going to win it because they can knock off the Spurs. The Spurs still, of course, they had Duncan. They had their guys there too, but that's what Mutombo was there for, to kind of negate Duncan. If you can do that, you could run that series. But unfortunately, didn't go that way. Duncan was a madman that entire series too, and
game 6 they blew a big lead.
But
they were winning by like over 10 in the fourth quarter.
Man, and they just blew it. But that team, I'll step a year back. Was what's the name when Kid first came in and he took him to the finals against the Lakers. I thought Kid should have won the MVP. Tim Duncan ended up winning the MVP in 2002, but Kid turned the whole team around, and it's because of him.
It was basically the same team.
Yeah, and I thought Kid should have won that MVP in 2002, but they gave it to Duncan, and I was like, all right, that's not, it always happens. Somebody gets snubbed, and sometimes, but I thought Kid should have won that MVP in 2002. So so. That following, back-to-back finals, they come up short. 2004, Jason Kidd's a free agent, but he decides to stay because he's like, we have unfinished business. I'm going to get Jersey a ring no matter what. So they bring, and because before that they signed Alonzo Mourning, and that turns out disastrous. That was that becomes like, in hindsight it looks good, but that turns out to be a huge mistake. So, you got Zoe, and then Kid comes back, and then they lose to Detroit in the 2004 playoffs in the second round. Detroit would end up beating the Lakers at that in that final. So, you thought Zoe and Kid would be good together, but Zoe has the heart problem. You remember, So, so that ends up being really, really bad. So, in December, the following year, 2004, they make the trade for Vince Carter. Yeah. So, Adam, I'll start with you because since you're a big Vince Carter fan, how did you feel when Vince came in?
I was elated, guys. And then I thought, if we didn't do it 2 years ago, 3 years ago, now that we have VC on the team, it's got to be the run now. We got to make that run now while we still have Kid on the team. We still have Jefferson. So this is going to be the chance to run because Kid was my favorite player though, for the past 5-6 years going into this. So after the that slam dunk competition that you guys remember, of course.
Yeah, and then
this is my guy. Even though he played for
that was everybody's guy. I mean, he's like a human highlight reel.
Yeah, up until he retired a couple of weeks ago, that's been my guy. So
yeah. So Ryan, how did you feel? Yeah, Ryan, how did you feel when Vince Carter came in?
They were going like they were a lottery team. Yeah, like a kid was complaining.
Yeah.
And they just got Vince, and then he had a good year, and then they made the playoffs.
Yeah, they made the playoffs as the eighth seed, only to get.
Like Vince was like gone because they called him half man, half season before. Now
Yeah.
it's the longest he played he played the most games.
Yeah, but Vince ended up they went to the AFC, they got swept by Miami at the time. So yeah, I mean even though you had Vince and Kidd in the backcourt, which was a good backcourt.
They always need to ask that whole team with Jefferson. They had the three of them, but they needed a power forward.
Yeah, they need some big men, I think, and some big guys to like make shit happen. And it just didn't happen because 2006 and 2007 they make the playoffs again, but they're out in the second round. February 2008 is the end of an era as Jason Kidd gets traded back to his original team, Dallas Mavericks, for Devin Harris. So yeah, so you see Kidd go. Adam, I guess I'll start with you. Talked about when Kidd had to go.
You know what? And that's when I lost respect for the man because the way he forced himself out of the team.
The migraine.
Unfinished business. I know they could have got a younger player in Harris. Harris did well for the team until Darren Williams ended up coming.
Yeah, he made the All-Star team.
Yeah. But Devin Harris did make an All-Star team. Yep.
Yeah, he did. Mm-hmm. And he did well. But the way the Kidd left, the way he did it, the way he went about doing it, though, made me hate the guy. And when he came back as a coach years later, I tell you, I was furious. I almost fandom when he came back as a coach. I was on the verge.
Yeah, he kind of made a heel turn, like Alonzo Mourning did when he forced himself out of the Nets. The same thing. He just was bitching and moaning, and then he ends up going back to Miami and wins a ring with them. So, yeah. So, Ryan, talk about how you felt when Jason Kidd was out of here.
I mean, it was sad. I mean, he was my favorite player, but like, it was time to leave though because he was not doing anything. You could see it in his game. He was slowing down. He couldn't guard like fast point guards anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's definitely not the same. He forces himself out. He ends up winning the ring a couple years later with Dallas. So
I mean, he deserved it. I mean,
he got it back. Fast forward to 2008 NBA draft, the Nets picked up Brook Lopez, so 10th overall. So Brook comes in. He ends up being a stud for you guys. He's actually the Nets' all-time leading scorer. If gun to my head, I would have never. Did you guys know that before that? Or
I knew that just because he played there long enough.
Yeah, he played there long enough. He spent like almost 10 years there. So like, but gun to my head, I wouldn't have picked Brook Lopez. I think because he just stayed there for so long, he could pop. I would have said maybe Buck Williams or maybe even like a Jason Kidd. But like, I was like to see Brook Lopez up there. I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense to me. Yeah. So Brook Lopez ends up being like a mainstay, and 2009 they trade Vince to Orlando. So those days are done. And 2010 they moved from the Meadowlands to Prudential Center in Newark. So to change it, arenas now. Yeah. Or what it was, the Meadowlands, then Continental, and then the Izod Center after that, which was a terrible place. Like I I'll always come back to it. It's just a terrible. It looked like a high school gym. Remember when you entered, you walked down those steps,
Yep.
And it just looked like. Yeah, that and Nassau Coliseum just had a high school gym appeal to it. It's just a really weird place. I remember going to a lot of things at like Continental Izod, from wrestling to UFC to like basketball, and just like, it won't be missed. I said, is it still up or is it? I think they tore it down, right?
I don't even know.
I want to say no. I think they did tear it down. I know it was up for a while though. It ran for a while because they would run because nobody occupied it. The Devils were gone and the Nets were gone and Seton Hall ended up going to Prudential Center as well. So nobody really occupied. So maybe like if UFC or wrestling or like something the circus would come there, like it was still there. But it was just a terrible place for everything. So,
it was a house that Jan Leon built. So
yeah. So, Brian, yeah, I'll ask you, when they moved to Newark, were you cool with that? Were you ecstatic about the Prudential Center? Because I think Prudential Center is a very nice arena.
Well, I was waiting until they went go to Brooklyn.
Yeah.
I wasn't really. Oh my God, they were terrible.
Yeah, like
there was like 3 seasons, like 3 years. They were really
good.
They
never did well in Newark. Yeah, after like that, they were they were, it was there. I like the arena. I was hoping they would stay in Newark because you could build a fan base in there, in downtown Newark. You got basically in like Newark, a city that is known for like high crime and high, kind of like a gentrified, move, and I thought it would work out, and but they signed the lease to go to Brooklyn. For that move was there for a while, but I remember they were figuring out where they were going in Brooklyn, because it was they were talking about the Brooklyn Navy Yard, which was a little bit, I think it was a little bit too far from everything if you ever been to like the Brooklyn Navy Yard, because you could take the subway over there, but I think you would have to walk a little bit of ways to get to the arena if they built it there. So I think now where the Barclays is the perfect arena, because it's like all the kind of like going to the Garden, all the subways, all the means of transportation for anybody to come in.
Yeah, it's a good
is right. Yeah, it's right there. So while they're in Newark, February 2011, they make the trade for Darren Williams with Utah. So, you go from a elite point guard in Jason Kidd to a couple years later getting at the time almost elite point guard in Darren Williams. So, Ryan, I'll start with you first. Were you happy when Darren came in?
Yeah, I was. But they had made some terrible trades. Oh, my God. Wallace?
Wallace? That's Lillard. The Gerald Wallace trade. They traded the rights to Lillard.
Yeah.
They could have had Dame, man, and now Dame's probably the best player in the bubble right now. So that's a takeaway. Adam, how did you feel when Darren came in?
I was excited for Darren Williams. I watched him in Utah for years playing over there. He did a really good job, and he was supposed to be the key to bring in Dwight Howard.
Yeah.
I wanted to follow it with him. That was probably for the best now when we look back 10 years later.
Yeah.
We're excited. Like, we're going to get Dwight Howard now. He's going to be part of the team. The team's going to, come back, be prominent, because they've been trashed for 5 years before this happened.
Uh-huh.
And then they were bad for another couple of years, too, before they got to Brooklyn. But those are really dark times from, 2009 to...
Yeah, because 2012, Darren went to the All-Star game as a net, and then
or Chris Paul was at one point. Who was the better point guard?
I remember that either Chris Paul or Darren Williams. And gun to my head, I would have picked Darren because he was taller. He could post up.
To the Western Conference Finals that he's so young. How he just fell off.
Yeah, it's just something like something when they moved to Brooklyn. I'll put April 23rd, 2012. That was the last net game in Jersey. And then they moved they moved to Brooklyn. Once they got to Brooklyn, Darren Williams was never the same.
Yeah, I mean, he had it. I mean, he could pass, he could dribble, he could shoot. He's big. I don't know what happened. He disappeared.
He really, really fell off. And
that kid couldn't coach him to be a star player again. Kid being a great point guard himself.
Yeah, and it's point guard, same height, same but either it's the pieces around him at the time, but it just didn't work out.
Avery Johnson was not a good coach for the team when he came in, so.
Yeah, it sucked. I'm like, what happened? So they finally moved to Barclays Center. The 2012 offseason, after their inaugural year at the Barclays Center, they trade for Joe Johnson. So now you got a backcourt of Darren Williams and Joe Johnson. And that didn't look good. They didn't go to the playoffs. And then 2013, in hindsight, would end up being a bad trade. They trade big Boston trade. They bring in Garnett and Paul Pierce and Jason Terry.
Don't forget Jason Terry.
Yeah, Jason. That was the owner of Parodnikov at the time. And Jay-Z was still 1% owner, right? Yeah, that's when and another thing, Jay-Z's influence was big too, because in Brooklyn, remember, they had they changed the jerseys to the black and white jerseys. Yeah. There are a lot of hip, when they moved and when they finally got to Brooklyn, this might be an unpopular opinion, but I, for one, thought that even though they were called the Brooklyn Nets and marketing wise, because Brooklyn was hot, anything you put. Oh yeah, Jeffrey Paul. Thank you very much. Andre Karolinko. Thank you, Jeffrey Paul.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was a big deal because that team got stacked. But when they moved to Barclays Center and Brooklyn was marketable with the gentrified area and the move to downtown Brooklyn and all the hipsters stuff, I thought they should have been called the New York Nets because you appeal to a bigger market. And if you're called the New York Nets, I think like you kind of overtake the Knicks. I'll be honest. If they were called the New York Nets, I might have would have jumped on because the Knicks sucked. I was just so frustrated with the Nets and with the Knicks, and like if they were called the New York, because like I'm not from Brooklyn, I have no association with Brooklyn. So if they took the New York monitor and they would appeal to more people metro wise, to Long Island guys or whatever. I think they would have been. I think they would have They would have got more big of a fan base, but they wanted to stay the Brooklyn Nets. So do you think the same, or am I bugging here?
I didn't have a problem with the name. I was totally fine with Brooklyn Nets though, because New York was the Knicks, and now we're different.
Yeah.
Same thing. There's not two New York teams in basketball. There are in baseball, and hockey, and football, but basketball we're separate.
Yeah. I thought with the New York name, but I mean, with Jay-Z it happened. I'm pretty sure Jay-Z was like, no, we're going to be called the Brooklyn Nets, right? We're going to be called the Brooklyn Nets, right? So yeah, you had to do it basically. So that's basically had to be done. But the KG Pierce trade, and you lose a lot because that's what the draft picks for like Tatum and Jaylen Brown, like the picks from the Nets, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that bit them, and they went for it and win now gamble. They gambled all. They went all in basically on this team.
They didn't even sign Pierce. They didn't even want to sign Pierce the next season. I was like, well, you just must.
You just got him.
Didn't even give it a try. And Brook Lopez was like injured the whole season.
Yeah.
And finally was like healthy. Like you don't even want to give it a try. All the players.
Yeah. And I think the best player out of all that group, the most that benefited most was Joe Johnson. I think Joe Johnson looked great. But everything else, KG, you saw the decline. Paul Pierce was still solid, but it was just that team was just no good at all.
But then the best player was Joe Johnson. You go give him the ball.
Yeah. So it was just
when you make trades where you have it feels like up until 2019 for 3 players and all 3 were gone in a year and a half.
Let me give it a try. All of them it was so crazy. That was the worst trade of all time.
18 months, all 3 guys were gone.
Yeah, you definitely got to blame it on Parodnikov. He went all in. That's probably why he doesn't.
Billy King will never get a general manager.
Yeah, that's probably why they just wasn't the same. So it was just it was just different. I remember Lionel Hollins in 2016 was a head coach, and then they bring Sean Marks in, and it was just never the same. Also, Kenny Atkinson, who I wanted as the Knicks coach currently. They didn't. They
should have got him. The young guys would have been developed.
Yeah. Jeffrey Paul, I didn't know you were such a big Net fan. I would have added you in.
Yeah, he was definitely doing a good job. The problem is they wore the same suit every single game. And so it kind of got annoying after a while. He would wear the same exact suit every single game. Maybe that's why KD and Kyrie got him fired. I don't know.
Yeah. So now I just move all the way because 2019, DAngelo Russell comes in. He does pretty well.
He was great.
He was great. He ended up making an all-star team for the Nets, and they thought they'd be good, but they didn't hold on to D'Lo. He ended up going to the Warriors. So
well, he only left because of the trade, or not trade, but signing of
Kyrie.
KD.
Kyrie, they only got Kyrie because they dated KD.
Yeah, yeah. So now again, you have this off season 2019. You make the big splash. You sign a Kyrie Irving, who's I was questioned because the Knicks. I remember we all probably remember this this vividly, where the rumor was that KD and Kyrie. Well, the Knicks had enough cap room, and the Nets as well, to sign, two big. That was the big free agent splash. Like, all right, we're going to make a big deal. We're going to get KD and Kyrie. And it ended up backfiring for the Knicks, and they both end up signing with Brooklyn. Part of me as a Knicks fan is like, all right, screw him. They signed there. But I guess, Ryan, I'll talk with just like, how did you feel getting both those guys, Kyrie and KD?
Oh, my God. I'm thinking, like, we're finally going to win a tip.
Yeah.
Well, next year. It's like, role players, they all mesh well, if you really think about it.
Yeah.
Witty, what's it called? LeVert.
Yeah, Dinwiddie is good. I mean, they have a lot of Karis LeVert is good. Yeah. They have a lot of pieces where, like, even now they're making deal with what they have, because they're in the bubble, they're in the playoffs. So
Joe Harris,
they're pretty good. Yeah, Joe Harris. Adam, how did you feel with the sign of the big splash of KD and Kyrie?
I mean, I keep getting my hopes up for this team. I mean, that's part of being a fan of a team for a long time. You get your hopes up, you go up here, and knock you back down over and over. So I'm on right now. I'm on that high. I mean, they haven't played much. Obviously, Kyrie, half the season was hurt and then took off, and KD played nothing this year. But see, I mean, if they're not playing now in August, I don't know how they're going to be great again or better again by whenever the next season supposed to start. It's supposed to be in October, but now it's later. So who knows what's going to play? But I just hope that they're 100% healthy, because they can make a run to the East. The East has good teams still with Toronto and Boston, but can they make a run? Can this finally be the year they make that run? And I'm hoping next year coming up. This year, if we get past Toronto, that'd be a miracle. This year.
Yeah, that would be.
Next year is always next year, and next year really is always, the year.
Yeah, it depends on what the hell happens with the league, with the season overall. But I thought Kyrie, like, as a Knicks fan, I was glad. I was like, nah, I don't want nothing to do with Kyrie, because Kyrie now, even now he's showing signs of like off the court problems, and just being a malcontent. And KD is a question mark. Does he fully return to his normal self after that injury? I mean, he's sitting out now, and KD, that's a talent you definitely you can't afford to pass on. You know what I'm saying? Because I consider him a generational talent. He could be probably one of the best scorers, if not the best scorer. Currently, probably the best scorer, just with all the things he can do. He's so fast. He's so long. He can shoot. He can score inside. Even though his frame looks small, he can do a lot, like, scoring wise. And,
he's a small
defender now.
Say that again, Adam. I'm sorry.
Like, he looks deceptively small. I mean, he's 6'11" or 6'10".
Yeah, his frame looks small. He's just a skinny guy. Yeah. Look like he has no neck.
Right.
Yeah, he's not big like Dwight Howard or Porzingis. Like, he's a little bit. Huh?
His wingspan is crazy.
Oh yeah, his wing. Yeah, and he could shoot. I remember when he first got drafted, he was playing 2-guard at one point with Seattle, and he was like just shooting over people. Just like, you can't. There's no way you're gonna stop this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, just tall, lanky, and you think like, he's deceptively, he's a deceptively athlete like that. Don't let that frame fool you. He'll come and run you over if he has to.
Yeah, but 13 years in the league, big injury. I mean, hopefully he's going to be that kind of player at least for a couple years with us. So.
Yeah. So now I the question I present to you guys, like, now if they get it together with the, like, with the names, do you think there's a chance that the Brooklyn Nets will, I guess, really take over, I guess, the New York metro area, like win some fans? I'll start with you, Ryan. Do you think that ever happens, or?
Yeah. Because a lot of Knicks fans actually flipped already.
Yeah, not me. I'm stupid.
Trade KP for Zion.
Yeah.
Like the draft, like crazy.
A lot of bad luck. I mean, like it's tough. Me, like I'll never quit the Knicks, because I'm just like, I'm stupid, and I just have too much sentimental times as a Knicks fan. But I got Adam. I'll present you the same question. You think Nets will ever be the talk of the town, or like
to be the team of New York? You know, the big New York basketball team.
Never
happen. They don't have the legacy as Knicks do. They don't have Madison Square Garden. You have Madison Square Garden. You're the big.
That's a big deal. Yeah.
Like you look at even the Islanders. Say the Islanders go on a run, they win a championship this year, and they go on another title. It's still New York is Rangers.
Yeah.
And in this town in New York, you have one sports team per sport that is the main dog. You got your Yankees, you got your Giants, you have your Rangers, you have your Knicks.
Yeah, because they were in existence first. Yeah.
Exactly. So those are the ones that are going to be there for a while. That's where people become fans of years and years ago. They pass it on to their kids and whatnot. So you become a fan of a team sometimes on your own. Like as a Net fan, I wasn't bred to be a Net fan.
Yeah.
I was growing up that way. I became one just on my own. You know, I tell my kids fans. You know, my daughter's got a Nets pennant in her room. My son, so I'm making them that way now. But I don't think 20, 30 years from now, they're going to be the big talk of the town. They're ever going to be the big team of New York. You got the Knicks there, and that's really the end of the conversation.
Yeah, the Garden history. And if Spike Lee hasn't crossed over as many times as he's been screwed over.
And from the arena, yeah.
Yeah, Spike Lee, as far as like being a Brooklyn native, he can easily be like, all right, you kicked me out of the Garden. You made a big stink about it. You know what I'm saying? This is the time I could be like, all right, screw this. I'm going over the bridge and take my act to Brooklyn. Yeah, I'm surprised he hasn't. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he does it. But the Knicks, like I said, Spike Lee is such a big part of Knicks history too. It's probably like it's too sentiment. He's not going to cross over as much as he should. But I don't think he does it. I guess another question I asked for you guys, because like I've been to Barclays Center. I hate it. I really and part of me is biased, but part of me because it's just a shitty place to watch stuff. Well, watch basketball, in my opinion.
If you sat where we sat a couple years ago.
Oh, for NXT, yeah. That would probably suck.
Yeah, but I went to a Nets game in January before the whole pandemic hit, and I was almost courtside. It's great down there.
Nice. Who are they playing? Oh,
geez, they're playing Detroit.
Okay, because I've been to every Net game I went to is against the Knicks. I probably will never go to a Nets game if they're not at Barclays, if they're not playing the Knicks. People have asked me to go to games like with who they're playing. I was like, no. I guess Ryan, like, have you been in like how many like Barclays Center games? You been to a lot, or?
I went to a few. Like
okay.
Yeah.
And and is the vibe different? Like, say that the Nets play. I know if they play a good team, like like a big draw, like maybe like LeBron with the Lakers, or even the Golden State or Milwaukee, where they have big stars. Is it more like there's probably like hardly any true Nets fans in there, right?
There actually are. I mean, I think Nets fans are like really loyal. That's what they are.
That's probably true. Yeah. But
I Garden for Knicks Nets games, going to MSG for that, and finding the Nets fans there.
Yeah, I think there's more because the Knicks haven't been good, but I'm like usually when the Nets would play the Knicks, and every time I've gone to whatever Knicks Nets, whether it been in the Meadowlands, Newark, or the Barclays, it would be a pro Knicks squad, especially like the Barclays Center move. Now they're in New York City, like it was always pro Knicks. You would always hear, no matter how bad the Knicks were, it was like
the kid era was like they were just in awe because they would just run people out of the court.
Yeah.
It was like a show. It's like because that fast break team was so fun to watch. Like when they blew out teams, they just like blew them out, and everybody was just in awe.
Yeah.
Specific than the Nets games, like kid was throwing like a bowling pass and stuff.
Oh yeah. Kid was just awesome. Like he did like every basic thing to everything. He was such a magician out there. Him like as far as point guards and watching, it's just him with the ball and Magic Johnson. I just like can watch them all day. Just like do these crazy.
People were just like in awe because they were just running the Knicks out of the court.
Yeah. Having a field day, just throwing it like no look behind the back. Just like just magical with them. And it's just like, it's like, those but the Knicks rivalry, like I said, if you're the Nets, we'll see if they ever take over or do anything.
Another thing with the Nets, though, what they don't have, what they never really have had since they've, really ever, is their own homegrown superstar. Someone who comes from the Nets, drafted them, and become a sorry. Because when you think about it, who do you have? You think of Dr. J, and Petrov. Those are the two guys that we talked about earlier. That are like homegrown, quote unquote Nets. Everybody who comes from who's a star comes from
someone else.
Yeah, because you hoping DC would be the guy, but he breaks out. You was hoping
Bert, Dinwiddie, he all started.
Could be that guy down the road, but I don't know. I mean, Brook Lopez might have been that guy in the past 15 years.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think you think that. Yeah, because they retired Jason Kidd's number, right? I think Brook Lopez is probably. Yeah. I think longevity, they'll probably eventually retire Brook Lopez's number.
If he wins a title with Milwaukee, I'm sure they will.
Yeah, they probably. Yeah, it makes sense. And he's like, he's definitely. I don't know about a Hall of Famer, but like definitely. Definitely a solid, great career. So So
then Julius Erving. That's the only Hall of Famer we really got.
Yeah, that's true. I look at the red. You had Buck Williams is retired. That's the first net I remember. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And then after that, it's like it's like who? You know what I'm saying? It's like guys like you run in, run out, homegrown. They don't stay around. And even though you have New York City in your backyard, but it can never. I thought Vince Carter when he came here too. I thought it would be a big deal and people would cross over. But like he's like Vince really didn't make the. He was here and I'm like, okay, so what?
4 years. It wasn't long enough.
Yeah. So. All right, guys. So we're up to present time, and good luck to you guys in the bubble, and hopefully you make a little bit of noise. Thanks for joining me, Adam. I'll start with you. Anything you want to plug before we go?
Nothing. No,
nothing at all.
I got nothing booked right now.
All right.
My comedy show's up and running again September out on Long Island. Hoping for the best. Got to get the good word back from up above first. So we'll see.
I feel you, man. Yeah, thanks for being on. Ryan, anything you want to plug, my brother?
Just find me on Instagram, a Real Ride Daddy. I have shows like the Zoom shows and outdoor shows. So.
Yeah, I did the one last night. It was very fun. Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
All right.
All right, guys. I'll see you guys later, man. Take care. Thanks for being on, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Go Nets.
Fun.
All right, man. All right, guys, that was Ryan Dacalos and Adam Parsons. This was fun. Tune in next week. We will review another team with another guest. Thank you for joining us on this episode. My name is Johnny McDonald. Thank you again. Be safe, be well, and have a good one.